Well, listeners, there is a very, very special tour coming up. We know how excited you all got when it was announced that Infectious Grooves would be part of Blues Fest this year. Well, that news got a little bit more exciting, of course, when they also announced a series of headline shows. So we thought today, to find out a little bit more about this amazing tour that is coming up, we would actually get Mike from the band on the phone right now to chat all about this amazing tour. Welcome to the program, mate.
Oh, wow. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yep.
Oh, yeah. Just I lost the connection for a second.
That's all
Yeah.
right. So welcome to the show. I've got to say, so many of our listeners are so excited about this tour coming up. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about heading back to Australia.
It's my dad said, he goes, one of the best things to be able to do is look someone in the eye, even though I'm not looking in the eye, but look them in the eye and tell the truth. And usually, saying something that's actually true. And most times when people talk about places, they're like, oh, it's the best place ever. Oh, it's the best place ever. Oh, it's the best place ever. Well, I can honestly say three of my four kids were born in Australia. I lived there for a while. And I seen probably some of the best and some of the worst of Australia, which is the same thing I say as America. But I love Australia. With the Suicidal tour we just did, that was a battle. We've been trying to go back there for a while, and with the promoters it was very difficult, and basically saying, it's not, it's nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. So the 16-year-old, punk rocker got out of me, and I go, fuck it, call my friends, help us do it. And so we did that. And then Robert said, hey, I got a couple weeks that I know for sure Metallica's not doing anything. Do you want to do something? And I said, yes. And so my first instinct is like, let's go back to Australia. And so we're doing 2 shows in Southern California before, and then going to Australia, and really excited about it.
It's funny because, like, you mentioned about what people were saying about the last Suicidal tour, and we keep on hearing here in the music industry that live music in Australia is dead since COVID. Yet in the last week here in Melbourne, we've had 96,000 people turn out to see Taylor Swift. We've had sellout shows.
Oh my gosh! Let me catch my breath. You're not a Swiftie too.
No. I'm definitely not. But what I was going to say was we had at the same time that was happening, we had Blink 182 in town doing sellout shows.
Yeah.
We had about 4 or 5 shows all in the 1 week with sold out shows. Yet we keep on getting told that the Australian live music scene is dead. Like it's such a contradiction.
Well, I think they were speaking more specifically about us, but in context too, with also that it's trickier. And the big tricky thing I think for Australia is the currency, obviously. And for not to get in economics, but you went from where back in the old day with Soundwave and all that. The Aussie dollar got stronger than the American dollar when I was living out there the last time. And so before, like we first went there, people were like, you want to go to Australia? It's, it's you got your holiday, your tropical thing. It's great. And, the dollar was way less, but you're like, yeah, I want to go. Then it got to the point where they were doing all these festivals and they were paying people a lot of money, and bands expected to get that, and then the Aussie dollar collapsed against the American dollar, and all those festivals went out of business and stuff, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. And then you couple that with it's safer to do non-rock things, all like EDM, all that kind of crap and stuff. And so it kind of changed the way people things were presented in that type of situation. But I think that to me, it's like I grew up in Venice. If there's a surf skate action sport kind of thing, it needs music. Music is the soundtrack to that. And I don't think not to be attacking Taylor Swift though, brings music into people's life. It brings a connection because it's an easy one. Everybody, not everybody, but there's so many people and young, especially girls that like them. They like them. They like them. So it's like you gotta like them, kind of thing. It's not challenging, but rock music, heavy music, whatever, different kind of music. Sometimes it should be when it's the best. It's challenging, and I think that's what people need to go through that process as part of learning, is to be challenged a little bit and to be moved, you know. And there's more chance to be moved with rock music per se than other music and stuff. So I think it's a very important process of growing up. But you know, you don't see, and there may be, but you know, like when people doing crazy jumps, motocross stuff, this and that, they're not listening to Taylor Swift. That's not what they listened to before. And there's always that kind of music, is that it's a soundtrack of life when it's right, where someone hears it and they're like, fuck it, you know what I mean? You know, and you've heard that, I've heard that for so many people. It's like, before they do something, they put on You Can't Bring Me Down or something, you know, this, you know, a suicidal song, or, and it's like, that's what they do. And then they get pumped up, and I go, that's the biggest compliment someone can give me and stuff, you know, because there's few songs that I listened to when I was younger that I listened to like, fuck it, let's do it, you know, even if I didn't think I could, you know, but I was going to give it that best shot, and that just gave me that extra burst. And so I think that's the important part. So I think that and Aussies are very much that kind of people. You know what I mean? In general, a stereotype, and I hate stereotyping, but, you know, very nice people. You know, like I was doing an interview, I was saying that, like, you know, Robert knows all the pros, all servers, all this. You know, they're like, oh, mate, come on, let's go over here. You know, they're in competition almost. You're like, hey, no, let's do this. Oh, come on, here, have a barbecue. And it's a great feeling and stuff. And Ozzy at the best has got that kind of like carefree, but when anyone has a carefree attitude, they also care. And when they have the balance right. And it's carefree because they really do care. So they have, I think that's a really cool balance and stuff, and I love that.
Definitely. You touched on something there that we talk about quite often on this show, and that is about young people finding their own music, like kind of moving away from their parents' music. Because I didn't really have that journey, because my dad worked in the music industry, so I grew up listening to stuff like Black Sabbath and pop music. Pop music was a bad word in our household when I was growing up, but when I went to high school, there was kids into pop music, and I was the uncool kid, me and my friends, because of the music we were into. Like, tell us a little bit about that for yourself, with your journey with music. How did you discover the music that you enjoyed when you were a kid, and that journey that started you on that path?
Well, you mentioned Black Sabbath. My brother is 5 years older than me and stuff, and so he started going through that whole thing. And so I got Black Sabbath for Christmas when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, because he would buy me records that he wanted. And then I try to play him. He's like, "What are you playing my record, you bastard?" I go, "You gave it to me for Christmas." He goes, "Okay, don't scratch it." But yeah, I always get these records I didn't know and stuff. And so I probably heard music, because my parents weren't in any of that kind of stuff, of course. And I heard music that probably went to for quite a few more years. And my brother, you know, is the Dogtown, you know, Z-Boys, you know, for pro skaters. And so I want to hang out with them, and they were listening to, they're skating, you know, they're emptying out pools, you know, the first people to do that. They're not listening to pop music, you know, and they're listening to they're trying to be the most aggressive they can be, and you have to have aggressive music with it and stuff. So, you know, the Sabbath and all those kind of things and stuff. And then later on, the punk rock came in. And I think one of the things is that I learned when, I said the story many times, the first, like, quote, punk rock show I went there, I go, "This is the best thing ever." It's like, when's the next show? Went to the exact same venue the next week, punk rock. And it was terrible. And I learned it's like, it's not the title, it's what the substance, you know, and the band. And I think that's what the musical journey is. It's not just be like, okay, this is punk rock. In the general, you can hear the power, the aggression, this and that, but it's also, there's a lot of terrible bands, you know, and some people would throw us in there, but, you know, it's one of those ones where have a chance to listen to something and find something that like moves you, whether you're moving or not, that makes you stop, makes you think, makes you go like, whoa, this is different. What is this? And I think that's something that's great, where you just like, I want to find something else. And when you're in a group of people that just listen to the same thing, you don't have that, you don't challenge yourself, and you don't have that kind of journey. So, and to a little bit to tie it in, that's, like why we're excited about doing Infectious, because we're out there to show people like, this is a great effing band. You may not have heard us, this or that, but we're not going back to try to, the same thing with Suicidal, be nostalgic, going to live in the past. We're going to go there and, want to, be compared to anybody. Yeah. And, we do it differently, but we're doing our thing, and we love it, and we're excited to let people see that.
You do it differently, but at the same time, your music, especially with Infectious, makes a lot of people happy. I always find it's impossible to put one of your tracks on and not instantly have my mood lifted. Is that something that you've been aware of, that this is music that makes a lot of people out there happy?
I definitely think so. It's funny because when it first came out, as a lot of the Suicidal records at the time, they're considered different, and people are like, I don't really like it. I don't get it. I don't know how to. And years later, they go, dude, I love that record. And I think a lot of times when people hear something, what they're hoping to hear rather than what they actually hear. Yep. And I think, it's like everybody likes the chocolate cake with a lot of frosting. They see that, they're like, oh yeah. But, whether the chocolate cake with a lot of frosting is actually good for you or not, that's another conversation. But I think with Infectious, there's a certain musicality. I know that obviously with everybody that's been in the band, what they've gone on and done, and it's definitely got a different kind of a legacy. And now we won't have the opportunity to go live. We're going to record a new song on Sunday. Been working on it. We're really excited, and having Jay playing with us now has been absolutely just so much fun. As mentioned, my two younger boys, they obviously love Robert. Robert is like just the greatest human being. I don't know how he handles things, because people came at me the way they come at him. Just, hey, Robert, do this. Everybody. It's like when I was living in Australia last time Metallica was there, and the amount of people that were asking me to get on like backstage passes, not on the guest list, backstage passes, and multiple. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy, And so many people like, oh my, could you ask Robert if he did this, because if he did it, then they'll take the call. I go, yeah, they'll take his call, but they'll never take another call from him, But everybody wants that shortcut and stuff, and I'm like, dude, Robert, I don't know how you put up with it, And but he's generally a great person and a great musician, and he's got a lot of pride, and it comes across the way that the amount of work that he puts into everything that he does, and so you see that, and he's in arguably the biggest heavy band in the world, and you go, how do you not put in the same amount of work? Yeah. He just does it in a very positive way, not a drill sergeant, but very positive way, and you see that he does it. But anyhow, I was saying, my two youngest kids, they were just saying, Robert was just beaming ear from ear at the last practice. He was just having a great time. And I said, that's what life is. Yep. When you're doing something that you love, it's not instantaneous. You got to put a lot of work into it, and then to be in a position where you just sit there and you can enjoy what you're doing, and be proud of where you're at and happy, even though it's a rehearsal, studio, to have that much fun, when you're used to playing in front of 60, 80,000 people a night, So that's amazing. Definitely. Be a part of that.
Now, Mike, I know we're running out of time very, very quickly, but I have to ask, I noticed you mentioned that you were heading into the studio to work on a new track on Sunday. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect from that track and when we might be able to hear it.
So Jay's flying back in from Nashville, and I think one of the things is definitely when Jay started playing with us. My first thing was like, because he had just had those two major surgeries and just started walking in January, and the timeline, but he came out as like, you cannot tell anything was ever wrong with him or whatever. And just, being able to watch him play and play our songs and just be like, wow, him to do his thing and just go, wow, he just adds such a, I think people don't, a lot of them, people, obviously know he's an amazing drummer, but in Slipknot, they don't see him doing some of the versatile stuff that I've seen him do before and knew that he's great. And I think a lot of people would be really going to be blown away when he's playing with Infectious, how it is and stuff. And so I was actually I was sitting there like we're playing some of the stuff and I go, man, I would love to do a new song. And threw it out to Robert and he's like, oh, we got this and we got this and I got this in the schedule. And I go, yeah, I know it's nearly impossible. He goes, well, everything's possible. And so we got the studio, got them to switch some people around, this and that, flying air engineer. And so we got our old guitar player, Adam, to work with us and, got everybody involved. And we're like, let's do this. And I think it's basically going to be, I think when people hear it, what we want to do is it's before you start, is to do a song where people hear it and they go, I've never heard anything like this before. I haven't heard it. And I'm not quite sure what to think of it, but my toes tapping, kind of thing. And if they're driving, they start speeding, And in Australia, we've got the speed thing, so that's not a good thing. But afterwards, you go, I'm gonna have to hear that again, and stuff. And I think people are gonna love it. A lot of people will, And it'll show the difference between what we do and maybe other people that are more genre specific, music.
Awesome. Well, mate, I know we have run right out of time and you're a very busy man. So to finish off, what would you like to say to all of your fans out there who are about to go out and grab tickets for this amazing tour?
Oh, I'm really excited, and we're totally looking forward to it. And we're also, the other part is if people notice when we did the Suicidal, we did Psych Australia. It's a whole thing we're going to start up, but we're going to keep coming back with doing a bunch of different things. We're talking about other projects, and Australia is my adopted home, so to speak. And I've been working very closely with a lot of people, and we have a lot of ideas that we like to do, and kind of bring the Venice kind of what I grew up with kind of community thing and do something in a sense that's very positive and different than maybe what the traditional people are doing. So we're just excited, and this is another step in that direction.
That is